I am writing to implore all gathered here today to help my friend Tim Johnson in his re-election bid and redouble your efforts on his behalf over the next 32 hours. I particularly call upon the Lakota people and all relatives there to do what they can for this man and to help him in his time of need. He has stood with you and all Native people from the four directions, and it is time that we stand with him. And he has been a good neighbor to Native people. Let us not forget this. I read with great sadness the offering of the editorial board of the Rapid City Journal. It is said among the Native people that the Creator would send among us those who were different or became different in their look, their talk, and their thinking. Some would even be infirm and lack mobility. But when the Creator sends them here, they are not sent to be ridiculed or maligned or judged. The Creator sent them here to share their burden with those who would be burdened and to teach those who would be taught. They are sent as teachers for those who would learn. There is no understanding there at the Rapid City Journal, and that makes many indignant. But that does no one any good. Take the indignation and turn it into resolve that this good man be respected, understood, considered, and above all, re-elected. Best wishes to all, and get out the Native vote for Tim Johnson. I wish I could be with you. Respectfully, Frank Lemire.
Go ahead, Phil.
Fern Johnson here. I am not standing here as a candidate, but I'm a long-standing advocate for disabled and impaired individuals, not only statewide, but also on a national level. The American Disability Act was put into law in 1990, but since that act, the past 20 years and counting, that law has diminished in effect for many people in this state and also across the nation. Senator Tim Johnson is protected under that act just like anybody else. I am absolutely baffled. When I was listening to the South Dakota Public Radio the other day, one of the senators, not Senator Katus, called in to ask a question, the unbelievable question to Mr. Dykstra, asking him if he thought that it was Senator Johnson was not able to perform the duties of the state senator for the people of this state. His response likely was at the time, he was not a doctor, it was not his place to make that decision, it was his doctors, his family, and Tim Johnson himself. However, most recently, it looks like he has become qualified to make that decision, to make the point that Tim Johnson is not qualified to perform that job. With the people of the state and the disabled people that are protected under that act, we need to put some teeth back into that law, and we can do that by the people of this state taking a stand, standing in the place of an employer's shoes, and to put him back into office, saying we want some teeth back into the American Disability Act because he is qualified, he can perform, he has performed, and he will continue to perform.
I'd like to support Senator Johnson. He has always championed South Dakota. Were it not for the senator prior to his brain hemorrhage, my son wouldn't be sitting in this chair or in South Dakota. There is no way that the Journal had any right to think that he couldn't do his job. I think that his record stands for who he is and what he does for South Dakota. Yay! This is my son Bill, and he has a few things that he'd like to say too.
I've seen Senator Johnson before and after, and I know the man can do the job. He's helped me come back to South Dakota and shown me the light to walk the way, and he's a marvelous human being that he's going to do great things in the future for all of us.
I'd just like, Graham, with a couple more comments, then we're going to walk across the street to the Rapid City Journal, and some individuals are canceling their subscription. As many of you know, Bobby Kennedy has long been my favorite politician. And this year, 40 years after Bobby's death, reminds me so much of the spirit of Bobby. And the spirit of Bobby continues in the spirit of Senator Obama, but especially continues in the spirit of Tim Johnson. Bobby said in one of his first speeches, the national leadership is calling upon the darker impulses of the American spirit, not perhaps deliberately, but through the actions and example it sets an example where integrity, truth, honor, and all the rest seem like words to fill out speeches rather than guiding beliefs. I would posit that the Rapid City Journal is playing into the darker impulses in all of us. When they diss people because of their disabilities, it's just a darn shame. Look at this man here. If they'd have been covering him in 1932, they'd have probably said he was disqualified. Probably the greatest modern president, maybe second only to Lincoln, totally. So let's march across that street. And Bobby used to wrap up his speeches saying, some dream dreams and ask the question why. I dream dreams of a country, paraphrasing King, where we are judged not by the content, not by the color of our skin, or not by our disability, but the content of our character, the content of Tim Johnson's courage. And let's walk across the street and tell the Rapid City Journal they need a new editorial board. Peggy Sagan, who was a wonderful person, would be absolutely appalled by this endorsement. So let's go across the street, and those of you who want to cancel your subscriptions, please do.